I really don't know how to start this.
Don't you?
No.
With nipple power?
Maybe with nipple power?
I don't know. Nipple power sent us 20 years in the future.
Yes.
That's how this started. We got sent to the future with nipple power.
Yes, because we watched Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling. I know we're about a week late, but it was difficult to find since one of us kind of doesn't have Netflix.
It's true. I'm cheap, and I'm not spending money on a subscription for like one movie.
Two technically with Invader Zim.
Whatever. Point is, I'm too lazy and cheap. Anyways,
It was pretty good.
I was gonna say before we start getting into it, what was the point of the title?
That was my thought too.
Where does Static Cling come in at all?
Maybe because you're clinging to the past?
I mean, then like, why not call it something more appropriate then? Like, there are plenty of other options, like nostalgia involved. It's kind of like options, like something with that name. Why Static Cling? Throughout the entire movie, there's nothing to do with Static at all.
I totally agree with you.
Like, I'd be curious to know that. Like, it's a slight nitpick, but it's a nitpick nonetheless. Yeah, no, it's great. You have Rocko showing up. Apparently, I don't remember if this happened in the series or not, but his house got launched into space.
I believe that was the final written episode. Although it was technically the series finale, it wasn't the final episode shown series finale.
Okay.
Because I also believe the pilot was like that too. So the first episode made was actually like episode 8 or 9 shown.
Hmm.
So just saying, it did end with them being blasted off into space.
But that wasn't the last one shown. Therefore, unless somebody was specifically looking for that, they'd never know.
Right, right. But production code wise, that was the last episode.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. So apparently, really, really big man allows us to like fast forward in time with his nipples.
I forget a lot of this show. The two bugs, like the ringworm and the flea or something, I remember them. I remember some of the characters in the background, but I don't remember really, really big man having nipple powers.
Look, that might have been a power they just randomly made up. I don't remember either. I remember the character, but not like all the shit he's done.
Same, same. I just thought he had the power of being incredibly tall.
That's powdered toast, man.
Wasn't he like the size of an average man though?
I know. No, he was big. He was like a superhero man from Ren and Stimpy. It's just his head was a piece of powdered toast.
And he would like scrape his face off onto your breakfast plate.
Something like that. Either way, either way, we're getting off topic. Oh my god. So yeah, we get fast forwarded 20 fucking years into the current era where they apparently find out that Heifer's had the fucking remote stuck on his butt the entire time. And nobody's noticed.
I believe. Oh, here it is. The final episode was called Future Schlock. And I believe that is how the series ends with them floating in space. So there. Found it. Yay.
Woo?
I guess.
I'll be honest. God. Like seeing them come back like immediately from like 20 years ago into this new era of like how things work now is really interesting. But like, and this is something I personally don't understand, and maybe that's just because of the way I look at things. But like, the obsession with the past that Rocko in this case has, or Mr. Big Head has, I don't get it. Like having to have everything exactly the same but continue on in this perpetual sameness.
I guess because since cartoons, unless of certain scenarios, cartoons are always the same. Like we were saying in.
No, you're. I'm sorry. I'm not. Let me fix what I said. I mean, like in general, like because that is like what the perception Rocco has is a perception a lot of the older generation tends to have, where they seem to be stuck in that era and want nothing to change ever, because it's like it's good back then. Anything that's different now is wrong and scary and not as good. Like,
So you're saying because Rocco is meant to be a younger character.
I'm not even talking Rocco, I'm talking that perception that people have. Like that perception of everything back in my day, back when I was around, is just better than everything else.
I don't know.
It boggles my mind to think like when people think that, because it doesn't make any sense. It's in Rocco in this case, because this, I'll be honest, this movie has like a kind of point to it, right? It's not. It's clearly trying to make a point, and it's making it in some very clear cut ways. Like literally when we meet the winds of fucking change, like it is hammering it really hard. It is really on the nose. It's basically saying like people from the past or people from an era prior to now need to try and like calm themselves down and just accept that things cannot stay permanently the same.
Yeah, because the future is always evolving, and
It's not even the future, it's humanity. Humanity evolves, and because of that it happens the same way with like and honestly it even does it like if you want to take it more directly from the way that Rocco presents it, you can take it from the way that they're showing it when it comes to like reboots of old shows, where it's like, oh man, it's not exactly the same way I like it, but here's my argument with that, at least the way that Rocco portrays it, right, this movie.
mhm.
The way they portray it is that it's still the same spirit, but they've added an extra character to it, and the character makes sense to be added to it, right? You're adding in a baby fathead, but the spirit and the comedy and everything else is still the same.
Right.
Hell, they even pulled on the original creator, Ralph, or God, what did
Rachel,
she become? That's it, Rachel. Rachel now, which also is kind of touching on more like current day shit.
which was just a tiny bit surprising, and I know it was Netflix and they could get away with it, but it was still Rocco, and that kind of just made me go, I wasn't expecting that.
I mean, again, you're touching it really on the nose with this stuff, but it's not like it's a bad point to make. It's just
Right.
really on the nose. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with them tackling it head on like they did.
I would expect something like Invader Zim to do something like that because of the whole aspect Zim set up. But with Rocco and like the whole flow from what I remember, that doesn't seem like something they would do.
Mm-hmm.
But I know this was all about things change and
Well, I mean, it's also commenting on current day stuff too with that too, right? It's like things change, and we're going from 20 years in the past to 20 years from the 90s to present day, and how much things have changed.
right.
Just characters that have lived essentially in a place there they've never done anything different. They're exactly the same way they were 20 years ago. Speaking of which, how the fuck have they survived? There should be nothing left after the first year. There's no food there.
Except couch scraps.
I guess
20 years on couch scraps.
the heifer should not be as fat as he is anymore.
Right, right.
But I mean, anyway, Because I do remember there was an episode of Rocko where Heifer got stupidly skinny and he was still wearing his giant pants. Like, I forget if it was intention, like if he was trying to lose weight or what, but I remember there was an episode where he got really skinny.
Like I said, I don't remember most of Rocco. I should have binge watched a ton of it beforehand.
I mean, that for whatever reason, that's one I remember seeing. I remember that visual of him having like his giant pants on from when he's fat, and they've like molded to the shape of his body from when he was fat. But then he's got this scrawny body.
I remember the road trip episode with like the Knockwish Nightmare.
Oh man, I don't remember that one, but I do remember the one where Rocco became the boss of his comic book shop, and he just got mad with power, yelling at Filbert constantly.
There was one I remember that there was a big sale going on at the O-Town grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
and all these shenanigans was happening, and the second Rocco is about to check out, the sale ends, and he's paying like 1,000% more, and Rocco loses his shit.
Oh man.
Since everything was like 99% off or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe it was in the very early days before Filbert was a main character and he was a background character.
You know, I will say this is what I do like. I do like the fact that like they keep some of the surrealist stuff about this series. I don't think they go as deep into it as they did in the series, but in the movie they kept some of it, like when they were doing like the whole selfie filter thing, Filbert
Yeah,
and Heifer,
the
where
head
like they've just
swap.
randomly swapped heads, and it's just like what the shit. I love the surrealist stuff in this, and I wish there was more of it again. There's just not, and it's a disappointment that there's not any more in like current animation.
Then again, it's only 45 minutes. So if this was like a 2 hour special, maybe they could have gotten away with more of that.
Well, I mean, they'd also have to extend the plot too, but yeah,
Right, right.
they might have been able to fit some more jokes in there with that stuff. Um, oh man, we kind of got off topic again, but like, yeah, the series definitely has this whole thing about people from like back in the day need to kind of just accept that it's not going to stay that way, essentially. Whether it's Mr. Big Head trying to accept that like his son has become his daughter now, whether it's Rocco accepting that the fatheads can't stay exactly the same the whole time through, because you can't do that, period. Because if the original creator would die, they need to change it. Like
Right.
somebody else needs to take over.
And I kind of felt this was very meta because Rocco says, I just want my show back.
Oh yeah.
And kind of saying to everybody who wanted Rocco back, okay, here's Rocco back, but it won't be the same that you remember.
Here's the thing, right? For me, if I want a show to come back, I'm cool with it changing so long as it keeps the same core that made it what the show that it was. Even like more so if you bring it back with the original creator. Like that's what it seemed like it was also saying. Where we had Big Head's boss, I forget his name, the booger dude.
Yeah, I just call him Mr. Pick and Flick.
Anyway, when he brings in like those Russian geckos, which I remember those fuckers. I remember being assholes every time they showed up.
I thought they were lizards.
I mean, geckos are lizards.
Okay, good point. Fair enough.
But he brings them in, and it's like, oh man, we'll put them in charge. They know what they're doing, and there they are, stomping on the fucking keyboard, no idea what they're doing,
Making it all CG.
making it all CG, and it looks terrible. It's like 90s CG again.
So, what you're saying is when Cash and Sense gets a reboot, you want it to be just as crappy as when it came on the air the first time.
Shouldn't that mean that Casshern Sins should have been the way the original Casshern was?
I haven't seen the original.
Neither have I, but my point is it should have been like that, shouldn't it? When we looked into it, I remember it was different.
Right. Maybe it was better.
Oh god. No, my point is, and I think the point that this is also making is that when you reboot a show, you need to bring back the original creator or it's going to be shit. Cartoon Network has made a big point of that when you look at the new Powerpuff Girls. It's shit compared to the original. It gets up its own ass half the time.
Craig McCracken has zero input on it.
No, Cartoon Network owns it and they didn't want him in it. They didn't bring him back.
Uh,
That's my point. You need to bring back the original creator. Like, I don't know, now that SpongeBob's creator has died, if that show should continue anymore or if they should just leave it. But Nickelodeon loves SpongeBob because it makes them money.
I wonder if Craig McCracken had any input in the Powerpuff Girls anime.
Probably not, but that thing was changed to hell from what I understand.
I know they were magical girls, but that's all. I think I've.
Like, here's the thing, right? That's less of a reboot, more of an adaptation.
Oh,
I feel. I
because
think there's a difference between the two.
I think a lot of the main villains, like Mojo and that hillbilly.
Fuzzy Lumpkins.
Yes, I know they were in it.
Well, like I said, I think that's more of an adaptation where they're taking from the original source material. They have the actual copyright to do it, and the fact that they're tweaking it to be different than the original. It's not a reboot for the sake of a reboot. They're tweaking it for a different audience, is what it is.
So would SpongeBob be better as a readaptation than a continuation?
Like here's the thing, right? I think when I look at Powerpuff Girls Z, which is the anime version of the Powerpuff Girls, I think that's meant to be an adaptation, which is meant to have its own continuity separate from that of the original series.
So now with Steven, I forget his last name, dead, will SpongeBob be better if they reboot it from the ground up rather than continue?
I don't think so. Like, that's the thing, especially after it being such a recent passing. Also, how would you reboot it when it's such an episodic series? Like,
good point.
Powerpuff Girls, yes, you could, but you also waited like 10, 15 years before they did that.
SpongeBob is Nickelodeon's Teen Titans Go.
Like, Teen Titans Go, I would argue, could be considered an adaptation because it doesn't have the same continuity as the original Teen Titans. It's just a bad adaptation.
Yes.
Like, don't get me wrong, reboots can be done well. So can adaptations. It's just, you're better off if you can do it getting the original creator back, or at least getting him there to help you along the way.
And it's good that the Rocko special had its main creator back again.
Yeah, no, totally. It's great to have that back. And it's probably in part because he owns the rights to Rocko, I'm going to guess. Otherwise, he'd have to pry it from Nickelodeon's cold, grasping hands.
And I'm half surprised they got all the original voice cast back.
Well, you also notice that a lot of them were very quiet. Like, there were a lot of background characters that didn't talk. Like, Heifer's mom was in the back there at one point, and she never said a word.
Right.
They kept to the main cast that they really needed. They didn't really push to have as many characters come in and voice as much as they could. And, maybe that's just budget, which it could be, because it is a Netflix series. I don't know how much money they got out of Netflix to do it. But yeah, it could have just come down to budget. It could have just been down to time. Who knows? I don't know what the contract was they signed and what they got for whatever time they got. Like, who knows? Maybe they could have been proposing, like, oh man, we'll do a full, like, theater-length movie on this. And Netflix was like, nah, we'll give you 45 minutes. But yeah, no, like, getting back to the point, if a reboot is to happen, if it is possible, bring back the original writer or creator of that series. Because they're just gonna know what they want to do with that more than anything else. It'd be like if we had season 5 of Samurai Jack without Gendy Tartakovsky at the freaking helm. Doing shit. It would have felt wrong.
Well, then again, season 5 does have a different feeling to it.
True, but we've also moved from being a kids show to being more of an adult show
Right.
with the transition from Cartoon Network to Adult Swim. It does have a different feel, but it's still the same style, the same feeling of Jack. It's just we've taken a darker turn with it.
Right, right.
And honestly, anytime you want to take a look at those, like the original 4 seasons, you're still going to get that dark turn. The only difference is that they're robots and not people or living things. And there's a hell of a lot of allegory where you could just flip those and just feel how dark it would be if it was. And well, I have my nitpicks with the ending of season 5. I'm fine with it because it feels like a natural ending, even if I don't agree with some of the ways things play out.
Yes.
Like I'd be nitpicking it, but I'm happy with the way it ended otherwise.
Jack should have been happy.
It's not even that. It's that if things went the way they were, Ashi should have disappeared immediately. It shouldn't have been like a slow fading away after we've gone through the time portal, blah, blah, blah.
Which made it even more depressing.
Yeah, like there was... I feel like there was zero reason for that. Because timeline-wise, it should not have happened. Like, if you're going to get into the time wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey bullshit, it should not have happened the way it did. But either way, I feel the ending is still appropriate.
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey? That sounds so familiar.
Doctor Who, David Tennant era.
Maybe I was watching then, or you used it enough that I'm just remembering you saying it?
Maybe, but I don't pull it out that often unless there's actual time travel BS going on,
Hmm.
which there's not usually. But yeah, no, like, it's basically Rocko adjusting to 20 years in the future. That's really this whole movie, and then just understanding how things are different. That's It's a simple premise, but they slam a lot of really on the nose things in there.
Starbucks across the street from another Starbucks.
I got a taco inside another taco.
It's the iPhone 8. No, I have the iPhone 9. Oh, look, the iPhone 10 is coming out.
The obsession with phone, like even that little like freaking skit going on there with just them kind of making fun of like current day people in general.
Yeah.
Just like, we have these ridiculous foods that we have for no reason. We have these ridiculous obsession with the new phone that comes out every year. In this case, every fucking hour.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, I don't even know if that goes on anymore these days, but I know that was a big thing back in like the early 2010s, where it was just like, I need to have the next new iPhone. It comes out next year. Let me trade in the one from last year and get the new one because I can't be seen without the new one.
I'm happy with my Galaxy J7.
I mean, then you have like the gritty, really, really big man reboot movie that they were watching at one point with 3D.
That just punches Rocko in the face.
Oh yeah, like there you go again with the surrealist shit of like, oh my god, the 3D's punching him in the face. Like, it's that realistic now. Funny though, the fat heads were his problem there, but really, really big man being dark and gritty now is fine. It kind of plays into some double standards there.
Yeah, yeah.
And that could also be making fun of people with that same thing of like, you're pick and choose what they like and don't like.
Maybe.
But like, the obsession with bringing back an old show without having it change is just, again, I use that as a broad thing as well, but it doesn't make sense to me. The show needs to grow and evolve the same way as anything else would. To keep it the same would basically be to say that the creator can't evolve the work, I guess. Because, what you make today, you might feel like I can do it the same way but better tomorrow, or it'd be the same as saying like characters need to evolve as they go forward.
And I just felt, and I know this was only 45 minutes, but Rocko at the end just adjusting to, oh, the new fatheads, it's awful, why is there a baby? Oh, I guess it's good.
Like the quick heel turn, yeah.
Yeah, they could have had an extra 5 minutes of him, of like more people explaining to him that change needs to happen, and then he's like, well, I guess. Another example Oh, I guess that's true. Another example. Oh, I guess it's fine now, but just the quick heel turn kind of made me feel a little bit underwhelmed.
A little bit. I feel like they could have done it a little bit better, where it's like Rocko turns and looks at all the different shit that has happened. Like hell, throughout the movie, like Heifer and Filbert having multiple O phones. You, Mr. Big Head, Ralph, and Mrs. Big Head, or sorry, Rachel now, Mrs. Big Head, all being together as a family again. All the different shit that has like just shown up throughout the movie of new and different things. The hell, the drone dropping on his head or something, and him just staring at it and being like, oh, just seeing the examples throughout the movie of change that has happened and people that have accepted it
Oh,
and embraced it.
and I just loved the pillow vendor.
The pillow, what?
The pillow vendor.
Oh, the fact that like every time everybody misses the pillows, even though it's twice, it's just twice.
I was expecting them to miss it though.
Oh no, every time. I'm like, oh, I know exactly where this is going. They're falling from the sky. Cool. They're not going to hit the pillows. It's literally going to be right over there. And lo and behold, slightly to the left, right into the ground.
And did you know that the creator of Rocko voiced Rachel?
I did not. Although I still like that voice. I really like that deep voice.
Joe
Like
Murray.
like Rachel or Ralph. I don't care on either end. The voice just works either way.
Oh, he also made Camp Lazlo. Interesting.
I thought Laszlo was alright. I wasn't as big a fan of it as some other stuff.
I've seen Lazlo in passing, but I may have heard he made it, but just looking at it now made me go, really?
Like, I remember it, and I remember enjoying the parts whenever they irritate the camp director, Lumpus. I enjoyed that. But some of the other random stuff that they did was, I don't know if I enjoyed it as much.
Did you see the grand finale of that? That spoiler may tie into Rocko.
If I did, I don't remember it.
Lumpus is not the real Scoutmaster. He is a patient from an insane asylum.
That sounds vaguely familiar, so I must have seen the ending for it.
So, and there was a giant steer that looked a lot like Heifer, who was the real Scoutmaster Lumpus.
That sounds very familiar. I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but I don't remember it. I'd have to look again and watch it and see who that original camp director was.
It looked a lot like Heifer from the one clip I saw on YouTube.
Let me see here. Because now you've got me curious. Oh, yeah, no, that does kind of look like Heifer. Holy shit. He's just like kind of shaved bald, though, for some reason or another.
And a lot older.
And older, yes. But like, wow, holy shit. Where the heck was he the whole time? Like, was he wrapped? I wonder if he had the same voice. No, there's no way he could have the same voice. Otherwise, it would be too on the, like, you'd know immediately.
Well, it may have been Tom Kenny doing an old voice because Tom Kenny was the main voice in Camp Lazlo.
Uh-huh.
So it wouldn't be surprising for Tom Kenny just to do an extra role that episode.
No, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. It might be worth looking at some point again, just to see that, or like look into it some more.
So, what did you think of Static Clang?
I enjoyed it, even if a lot of the things were on the nose, especially when we got a character that was literally called the Winds of Change. I'll be honest, that's probably my biggest nitpick, is just that character being a thing.
And the fact that it was called Static Clang.
I mean, even that I can kind of let go of. I'm more curious than I am upset about the name being different or not making sense. The more irritating thing is how on the nose they were with, not how on the nose, but like how on the nose they were but then adding in the whole Winds of Change character as a thing being more annoying about it. Like, I enjoyed the fact that it was on the nose. It's fine. I don't care about that. The only thing I care about is when they pushed it too far with a character that is literally called the Winds of Change. That is probably the best way I can put it. I think they could have left that character out, and the show would have probably been, or the movie would have been much better. Because there's literally no reason for him to be there other than just like the joke about it being the winds of change are blowing.
I know there was a ticker tape in one of the scenes that Rocko was being interviewed. I forget what it was, but there was something like, yes, we know the sign said reboot, when in fact this isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forget what that joke was now. Shoot.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say I liked it for the most part. Maybe if I would have watched Rocko recently, I could have said, "Oh yes, this is as good, better, or slightly worse than what it was." But I would maybe say B plus.
I gave it 7 tacos out of 20 giraffes.
Fair rating.
No, it was very good. I really enjoyed it. It felt like it kept the spirit of the show. The characters all had the same voices. The on the nose comedy, to a degree, could be a little aggravating to some. I find it fine. My only complaint was that there's a character literally called the Winds of Change that just keeps hammering that point home for no reason. So yeah, no, I think it's very good. It's worth, if anybody enjoys Rocko, hell, even if you don't, I think you'll still enjoy the show or the movie.
Yep. Yep. So, check back with us in a week or so for Enter the Florpus.
Enter the Plumbus. Oh, sorry, is that the new Rick and Morty crossover with Invader Zim? Is the Florpus a portal to the Plumbus, and they're going to have a crossover?
You won't let that go that they sound so similar.
No, because there's no reason for it to sound so similar. I just can't stop imagining it being a crossover now.
For all you know, the Florpus will be a giant wormhole.
Or it's going to be like Static Clinging, have nothing to do with the movie whatsoever.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Like, I look, all right. I just want Zim to meet to meet Rick, and Rick to be like, "You're a goddamn idiot," and then for Morty and Gert to be best friends. Fucking Rick finally fixes his robot, gets Zim out of his reality, and is just like, "Fine, go. I don't care anymore." And now just Gert has existential crises every day.
Phase 2!
He starts having like, "What is my existence?" And then he pulls a muffin out of his hat. Yay, a muffin! Like he's going between existential dread and just super happiness. He's like 1-1 now.
Yes.
He's like 1-1 now.
Wait, what was... I was watching a collection of the best Gert clips, and Zim goes, "Dib, I knew you'd be here." "How did you know that, Zim?" "I put a tracking device on you." Tracking device? He starts like searching his pockets, and all of a sudden, Gert pops up from the back of his head. "Your hair smells like citrus."
That sounds about right. How did he not know he was there?
I don't know.
Gert's just and like, how does Gert that silent? No, there's no way he was that quiet. Like I feel like the only thing that makes sense is like Gert says stuff and Dim starts like freaking out and taking looks behind, like, "Oh my god," and then like Gert's just quiet again after talking. It's like, must be my mind. Must be going crazy.
I've heard that also has all the same voice cast.
Oh please let it look. I'll be honest. The only 3 characters you need to keep exactly 4 characters you need to keep exactly the same would be Zim, Dib, Gur, and then probably Dib's dad. And then Gaz. Sorry, so 5. Those 5 would have to stay the same. If they wanted to change anyone else,
that would be fine.
Other than maybe the teacher, so 6, you'd be fine. You wouldn't need to matter, and none of them would ever matter. You wouldn't matter. They could all be different, and nobody would know or care.
But we're starting to talk about Invader Zim now, which is another good show.
We'll get there. We'll get there. All right, it'll happen when it happens. Okay.
So, like, comment, subscribe, I guess. Check out all our other stuff. Um, we're going to be recording some crazy insanity with Orion coming up in the next week or so.
Maybe we'll see. Who knows? At this point.
Yep, knowing our schedules.
Oh God, real life. Why are you in the way?
Yeah, and it's slightly disappointing we're all on different schedules because Orion also wanted to discuss this with us.
Yeah, he didn't give any pass along any notes about it, did he?
Not on Facebook.
Then he didn't get a chance to. All right, makes
Mm.
sense.
Unfortunately, maybe when we meet in person, we'll have to maybe do a slight recording on his end.
Yeah, get a little bit of like his opinions on it.
So stay tuned for that too.
Yeah.
So until then, later.
Bye.